Hello, paranormal fans. This is Mark Drotis, paranormal suspense author. Are you looking for a good scare? Something that will challenge your thoughts about ghosts and hauntings? If so, read The Haunting of Crimshaw Manor and find out what happens when a paranormal club investigates a mysterious haunted house where shadow figures are seen, screams heard, and an undeniable torment is revealed. The Haunting of Crimshaw Manor is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or wherever scary books are sold. And don't forget to listen to Ghost in the Valley podcast with Al Cooley. Both will give you chills and keep you up at night.
Hello and welcome to Ghost in the Valley podcast. I'm your host, Al Cooley. Today I have a fantastic guest. His name is Maxim Furek. Maxim Furek's rich background includes aspects of psychology, addictions, music journalism, and the paranormal. He has a master's degree in communications from Bloomsburg University and a bachelor's degree in psychology from Aquinas College. Maxim has interviewed celebrity demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren and white witch doctor Frederick Lamonte Santee. He was featured on Coast to Coast with George Noory, exploring the bizarre with the legendary Timothy Green Beckley and Tim R. Swartz, and Art Bell's Midnight in the Desert with Heather Wade. He was the invited guest speaker at the 2025 Butler, Pennsylvania Paranormal Conference. His latest book, The Smurl Haunting, When Ed and Lorraine Warren Came to Town. Also, Cole Region Hoodoo, Paranormal Tales from the Inside the Pit, The Last Tribe of Bigfoot. Check out all of his books and his works at www.maximfurek.com. The links of Maxim will be in the show notes below this episode. Now, as promised, my interview with Maxim W. Furek.
Yeah, thank you so much, Al. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm really excited about your Ghost in the Valley podcast. So, thanks for the invite.
I went to a Paracon last month in Kentucky, and I heard your name mentioned. Okay, so I was looking back on your bio. I'm going to just read this one part. You said you were featured on Coast to Coast with George Noory, exploring the bizarre with the legendary Timothy Green Beckley and Tim R. Swartz.
Right.
I ran into Tim R. Swartz and bought his book. He autographed the book for me. I think your name was brought up. They were talking about the Coast to Coast. And then I went to another group of people and they were talking about the Coast to Coast and Maxim. I said, I got to look this dude up when I get home because I heard your name twice now.
Oh, that's, when that happens, I mean, I just shake my head like I can't believe it. But, the paranormal community is, I think, a small one. And it's the 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows somebody else. And even with Timothy Green Beckley, what a great guy, Mr. UFO. He was so prolific and he did everything, and, so when I was on his program, he sort of mentored me just like Ed and Lorraine Warren. And I've been fortunate. To have met a lot of amazing people who have been friends and mentors and supporters. I can't say enough about the genuine authority and character of the paranormal community. I mean, they've accepted me. I love them. Thank you for listening, for buying my books, for mentioning my name in Kentucky. So
that is something when you go to a place like this. I've had like eight of these people that were speakers at the Paracon. They've been on my show over the past 8 years.
Nice. Yeah.
And so I finally got to meet them in person,
Yeah, cool.
That was so cool. And
Yeah.
I was sitting in the audience way back in the back. I got there kind of late. And the one speaker, Sinstrader Hill, she was talking and she just stopped talking and said, "Oh, the Al Cooley is in the house." Yeah, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" He pointed me out, and it
Yeah,
turned out I knew a couple of people that were in the audience, and so
yeah,
it was such a great weekend. And then finally,
yeah,
putting a face to the
yeah.
people I got
Well,
talked to on the
it's your tribe. It's your tribe. It's your
right,
family.
right, right, right. Yeah.
You know. And was Tim Schwartz wearing a suit and tie?
I have to go back and look at. I had a picture taken with him.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll have to check it out. I don't think he was.
Okay. Because he's always on TV. He's always talking about time travel or you
Right,
name it.
right.
I mean, Tim's an authority on everything. You got. He's awesome.
Yeah,
Tim's,
I'm just looking at his book now. I bought like 7 or 8 books, and
yeah.
uh,
Which one is Tim's?
it was Alien Artifacts,
Okay. Okay.
and I got to read that one. So I haven't read it yet. So I got like I say, like 8 or 10 in there. But yeah, well, I'm going to get right into it. I mean, there's a lot of things here you want to talk about, and I have some questions as well.
Sure.
But first of all, you were said you want to talk about the Conjuring movie franchise. Why is that important to you?
Well, it's important to me because I guess we're sort of like lockstep. As your listeners know, the Conjuring franchise is the most successful horror franchise of all time. Right now, it's registered. I think they calculated $2.7 billion net. That's not gross, Al. That's net. And the last one was Conjuring Last Rites, which was about the haunting in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. So, funny thing. I live 30 minutes away from West Pittston. I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania. I met Ed and Lorraine Warren, and I met Dan Rivera, the handler, 2 days before he died. So it's like a troika. Call it a trifecta. Call it what you will. It's a
Hmm.
paranormal trifecta of weirdness. But I was there. It seems like I was the person who was meant to write this book on the Smurl haunting. And call it what you will. I just think that something was channeled through me. Uh, don't call it coincidence. Just too many things that fell into place. Anyway, The Conjuring Last Rites came out September 5th. My book came out months before them, but it's the same theme. The only difference is that The Conjuring Last Rites is a horror movie that is totally fictitious. My book tells the true story about Ed and Lorraine Warren, about the Smurl haunting, and about the realm of demonology. If you're interested in the topic, get my book. And I say this with a whole lot of confidence and excitement. The Smurl haunting is, it takes a look at the Smurl haunting and compares it to other haunted houses, other examples of demonic infestation, and takes a deep dive into the realm of demonology, the rite of exorcism, the existence of evil, that whole thing. It's not just the Smurl haunting, but it's everything else wrapped around it with a cherry on top. So,
No, I don't believe in coincidences either. I think things happen for a reason. And I think there's a reason why you're put there with the Warrens and Rivera. I really think that there was a reason why, and the reason why how you wrote that book. We're going to get into that a little bit later. The Smurl haunting. That's on my list. That's on my list anyway in the pickup.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I mean, you also talk about demonology, and that has always been fascinating myself. To me, I've had Bishop James Long on the show
okay.
a couple times on being a Catholic and converted Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many questions, does Catholics honor, say you're being cremated? Uh, and he answered everything I had thrown at him, and I liked all his answers. Yeah, and I can't wait to read the book on. There's a couple chapters I'm going to get that also later in your
Yeah.
book.
Oh,
But
yeah. And please, if you can, put a review on Amazon. It's the best thing anybody can do for an author. Give us a review because that AI algorithm, and Jeff Bezos and everybody else, they look at that. And if you get a bunch of reviews, your book is somehow perceived differently and elevated in that algorithm, and we do better. So, again, Amazon is smelling the blood or the money rather, and so they'll do something with the algorithm, and it helps us too. And let's face it, guys like me and you, or at least guys like me, we're struggling to tell the universe that here we are, here's our work, here's our research. know me. I mean, here, and it's tough because there's so many people that are doing the same thing that we do. And even with my book, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, that we did really well with, when I looked at the competition, I can't believe the hundreds or maybe thousands of books that have been written about Bigfoot. I mean, you'd think that would be tapped out. You think that it's going to be over, so I don't know, but
I can relate being an author because my book came out last October, and yeah, you want those reviews, and I got like 11 reviews in a year. I mean, I've sold plenty of books.
yeah,
I've went on Goodreads and given out lots of copies. All
yeah,
I'm asking for is a freaking review,
yeah, yeah.
and I can't even get that. So it's tough.
You got to be a little bit more militant, a little bit more medieval. Look, I'm going to give you a book, but here's the deal.
I even put that in the books I gave away. It's like on
Yeah,
the giveaways on Goodreads. That says I autographed a book. I sent you the book, and all I'm asking for, could you give me a decent review on that on Amazon or Goodreads or whatever?
yeah.
And it's hard to get, man.
They're
Uh,
tough. Yeah, believe me.
yeah, yeah.
I
But
know that.
I'm sticking with it. I got book 2 coming up. Mine's based on a true story. Grew up in a haunted house. And I can understand some people. And I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. That's fine. You
Yeah.
know. But when you experience it firsthand yourself, that's a little bit different.
It touches you. It changes you. It lets you know that hey, this is serious business here. So
Yeah,
you
you
know.
brought up Ed and Lorraine Warren. So describe the significance of their career.
Yeah, well, they are significant. They first of all, not everybody liked the Warrens. They took their hits. They had their critics, and let's start off with that. They were successful. A lot of people thought that, well, if you're successful, you've sold out, or somehow you're a con artist, and but that wasn't true. They charged, I think, around $5,000 to do a seminar at a college. They did close to 1,000 of them. They were making good money back in the day, but their significance, Al, was this. They were the ambassadors. They were the pioneers of demonology. They made it mainstream. They taught us about the realm of demonology. And they were as important to demonology as I would say Sybil Leek was to witchcraft. I mean, both personas were able to go and introduce their topics, their genres to a public. And with Sybil Leek, there was a law in the United Kingdom that if you practiced witchcraft, you could be either incarcerated or burned at the stake or whatever it was that they did, whatever the punishment was, I don't know. But anyway, they repealed that in the 50s. So Sybil Leek wrote a book about witchcraft, and it told people, especially women, for some reason, it resonated with them, that they too could go and dabble with practice with pagan religions or Wicca, these pre-Christian religions, these very primitive religions that came before Christianity, and that it was all right to do that. And so she was the one that demonstrated that. And again, she did a lot to open up the doors and to open up the conversation and to shed some light on a realm that was just black and white. She helped give us some shades of gray, as did Ed and Lorraine. So that's what this is all about. And we need those shades of gray, especially when we're talking about the paranormal, because it's outside the realm of science, and we can't explain a lot of it, but, we see it. We experience it, but we don't know what it is. So, trying to understand and identify those shades of gray, I think, is important. And all of us, I would like to think, are making a contribution by doing that, by doing our best to look at that, look at those shades of gray through our own perspective, our own unique perspective. So, that's what I think I do or try to do, just to try to help redefine what the paranormal is,
Uh-huh.
and,
Well, I don't think anybody can really ever say what the paranormal, because it is unexplained.
yeah,
And but you had talked about the Amityville horror,
yep.
the Smurl haunting. How was it similar to that? How do they kind of relate?
All the haunted houses, even the ones in Ohio, they're all the same in that with demonic infestation, with demons or spirits or ghosts, playing tricks or doing, mischievous things or malevolent things, we have the smells, we have the grunting sounds, we have the rooms that are heated that all of a sudden they're 30 or 50 degrees, they become ice cold. We have examples sometimes of levitation. In Amityville, there were the flies, just incessant amounts of flies on the window. The little girl saw the pet pig, things like that. The thing that made the Smurl haunting different than, say, Amityville was the level of intensity. The degree of violence at the Smurl haunting was a lot more than any of the other hauntings that I've researched. And that's because Jack Smurl claimed that he was raped by a female demon, a succubus. Janet Smurl, his wife, claimed that she was molested by some invisible demon. And I believe, my own theory is that I believe that the Smurls had a mark on their back, they had a target on their back because they were Christians, and specifically they were Catholics. And I believe that because of that, the devil, the demon, wanted to bring them down. I believe that the devil scores more points to bring down a Christian. So, and I've been asked a million times, well, why the Smurls? Why not, of all the people in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, why was it the Smurls? Well, I don't know. I don't know how the devil works. I don't know how the devil thinks, but, I believe it was the Smurls that got it. And we believe, us who dabble in demonology, believe that demonic forces can inhibit people, places, and things. For example, the Annabelle doll, or Robert the doll, or any of the other artifacts like that. But also the Smurl house and possessions that they owned, or maybe the Smurls themselves were infested because on several occasions they left West Pittston to go camping in the Poconos, and these demons, the spirits, followed them there. So whatever that was. So, it wasn't just localized, but it was a traveling ghost or a traveling demon. And, but the difference is that, with Smurl, the Smurl house, Smurl haunting isn't as well known as Amityville. And then with the Amityville, that's our modern day example of Cain and Abel. I mean, here's a young 23-year-old kid that killed his mother, father, his two sisters, and his two brothers. And then Al claimed that he was possessed by a demon. And that's where this whole story gets pretty interesting. I mean, it was gory, it was gruesome, it was horrific. But Ronnie DeFeo, the murderer, claimed that he was possessed by a demon. And the prosecution, and there was a book called High Hopes, that talks about this. The prosecution had to prove that Ronnie DeFeo was not possessed by a demon, but that he had a personality disorder. He had no empathy for his fellow humans or his family, and he had a need for immediate gratification. And so they were able to prove this in a court of law, which just added validity, add context and texture to this whole realm of demonology. I mean, here in a court of law, an American court of law. So that was pretty amazing. But we cannot let Amityville go because it was so horrific. And just Google the motion pictures, the books, everything that's been written about it is just like amazing. It just won't quit. And there was something there. I know that after the bloodletting, George and Kathy Lutz bought the property for $80,000, and they stayed there for 28 days before they were chased out by demonic infestation. Some people said, no, it was a hoax, that George Lutz's attorney, who did say that he conjured up this haunting, this poltergeist activity over 2 bottles of wine. But I don't believe that. I think that there was something happening there. The fact anybody could write a book about Amityville and probably sell a number of copies and get Amazon reviews, get a whole lot of Amazon reviews. So just because the George Lutz's attorney said that it was a fake, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I mean, it's sold books. Doesn't matter which standpoint you take with Amityville. I did it. I time traveled back there and did it, or I didn't do it. I hoaxed it. Whatever. People will buy the books because it's a cottage industry. People like to read about Amityville.
Well, where is West Pittston?
It's in northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm from Luzerne County, and West Pittston is in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And also, just for the good of the order, if I may, Pennsylvania ranks third after California and Washington State as far as Bigfoot sightings, with Florida coming in number 4 with the swamp ape. So Pennsylvania, we pride ourselves in being weird. We think there's something in the water. So
Yeah, I've been to Kecksburg. I went to the Kecksburg festival with
sure.
and I met Stan Gordon there, and
Stan always hangs out there with his books. Yeah,
right. I bought 2 of his books there, and I bought his DVD on Kecksburg, and so I found that very fascinating. And I got to talk to people that were youngins like myself at that time when it happened. So they were the little kid in the house when the Men in Black came in. So that was interesting, So Pennsylvania is
what Stan Gordon does for the good of the order. I mean, whenever the Pennsylvania State Police in Western PA get a Bigfoot or UFO sightings, they say, call Stan Gordon. Here's his phone number. They call him up. He records it, and in his books, and Al, you could confirm this, but in his book, he'll have a notation like 6:00 p.m. Mr. and Mrs. Farmer Brown go out to the barn to feed the cow, and they see the orb and the Bigfoot. So they'll talk like that, where it was, who saw, what they saw. So he has this kind of documentation. He's been doing this for years. And we're fortunate that we have somebody like Stan Gordon who's there doing the documentation.
He's way ahead of his time anyway. I mean, he was doing stuff before.
Yeah, exactly.
With his radios and.
Yeah. And I had the pleasure of being on stage with him this year at the 18th annual Butler, Pennsylvania Paranormal Conference. So I was there with Stan Gordon and also the Psychic Vincent sisters, Suzanne and Jean, who, if you haven't had them on your show, you should. I could hook you up, but they're really delightful. And they talked about all of these things, the missing persons and just all these people that their experiences. So they helped me with the Smurl haunting. They gave me some quotes about Annabelle the doll, and they really did help give me some more, perspective with that.
Why don't we get back to Warren and Lorraine? It had to be fantastic to meet these people in person, and did they share any of their demonic experiences with you?
Yeah, they did. And I met them in 1988. They were on a 15-city book tour to promote The Haunted, which was written by Robert Curran. He was a reporter from northeastern Pennsylvania. I had worked with him on with the Sunday Independent newspaper. But anyway, he wrote the book, but it was co-written by Ed and Lorraine and by Jack and Janet Smurl. They were promoting this, and I went out there. I got permission to interview them. I took pictures. I hung out with them. And over the years, I would call them up to ask Ed specifically how he did battle with demonic forces. Lorraine was an animal lover. She had a pet rooster called Einstein, and you could hear Einstein in the background. And but anyway, Ed would say things like this. He would get into this, he called it, I want to say, spiritual resistance. And he would invoke the spirit of Jesus Christ, of Padre Pio, of St. Michael the Archangel to do battle with these demonic forces. He would use holy water. He would use the crucifix, but he would be strong in the Lord. And when I went out to Gettysburg this summer to see the Annabelle doll and meet Dan Rivera, all those guys were Christians. They were pretty much, I think they were all Catholics. Dan Rivera was a Methodist that converted to Catholicism. And when you meet these guys, they're walking on air. I mean, they are so filled with the Spirit and, that whole tapestry of Catholicism, which is a beautiful, rich religion and tradition and all that. I mean, it's, I get goosebumps talking about it because it's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But that's what Ed did. And that's what the exorcist did. Jesus Christ was one of the first exorcists. One of his first miracles was to cast demons out. And he told his apostles that you too could cast out demons if you do it in my name and in my spirit. And that's what modern day exorcists do. They do it not by themselves, but they do it through the power and spirit of the Lord. All things through God.
Do you consider yourself a demonologist?
No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. I am not.
Okay.
I mean, I'm interested and fascinated in that, but I mean, I don't have the right to call myself
Okay.
that. I'm a paranormal author with a really active, interest and passion for demonology. I mean, again, out of all the books that I've written, and I've written 9, of all of the themes that I've touched on with the paranormal, the buttons that get pushed are the ones with demonology. It's just the most fascinating, the most exciting, the most valid out there.
What do you think it is that the Catholic Church, they don't want to discuss demonology or demons, but they don't want to talk about it during Mass? I was basically told, when I told our priest I was doing a documentary called Ghost in the Valley, hence my podcast. I wanted to get his views on where I was going with this, and he was very interested, but he wouldn't touch on the exorcisms or anything like that.
Couple of things. One, they keep it sort of on the down low. Like every Catholic diocese has a priest who is skilled in the art of exorcism, and they've learned this. So some of the priests back home, they won't talk about this. They'll say things like, "I know who it is, but I can't tell you." And while other priests, knowing that I have an interest in demonology, they'll tell me, "Oh yeah, such and such is a demonologist. He preaches over there." You know what I mean? So some will talk about it and some won't. The church globally does not want to be embarrassed by people that are just sort of like kooky, fanatics who may embarrass the church. And in the Smurl hunting, in my book, I have a chapter called the 2%. Father Amorth, who was the Vatican's chief exorcist, who did thousands of exorcisms, and he was the focus of the motion picture The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, which is very good and very authentic. So I would certainly recommend your listeners to go see that, the Pope's Exorcist. But Father Amorth said that only 2% of the people that he deal with that claim that they are possessed actually are possessed. And that hence the name, my chapter called the 2%. All the other 98%, according to Father Amorth, are mentally ill. They have characteristics of schizophrenia, of Tourette syndrome, of bipolar, manic depression, whatever, personality disorders, but not possession. And so this is what they're saying: 2% are actual possessions. They have to be careful. In my book, I talk about a young woman, a college student named Annalise. She was German, and the 2 priests did an exorcism, a series of exorcisms, and they killed her. There was a trial. Annalise's parents and these 2 priests were convicted of either second-degree homicide or whatever it was. I mean, they were convicted for her death. They no longer perform exorcisms in Germany, or I should say, they no longer perform valid exorcisms. There may be some under the grid, but they're not allowed to do those because of her death. So the other thing too, we know from the cases, from the experience of the books of Catholic exorcists, that someone who is possessed will exhibit a number of things that are very common to one another. They will have superhuman strength. They will be able to speak in other languages, like maybe ancient languages that nobody even knows. They could speak in those tongues fluently. They know the secrets of the people that are inside the room. And if you remember in The Exorcist, Peter Blatty's motion picture, the priest there, demon knew that the priest was having some issues with his mother, maybe feeling some guilt with his mother. That was Jason Miller, played the priest. And also at times levitation. These spirits, these possessed people can actually levitate. And levitation exorcisms and levitations are not unique in the Bible. We read about them all the time. They were, relatively commonplace. So people that say that, these things only happen in the Bible, and it's not true. These things happen in the 21st century. But again, why doesn't the church talk about it? Well, for a lot of reasons. They don't want to be embarrassed. They want to make sure that they got the real thing. And besides, maybe we need to have the right to know. Just like, there's clandestine black ops that probably know about UFOs and humanoids and reverse engineering. It's not the CIA and it's not the FBI, but Al, you and I and the President of the United States do not have the right to know, and we will never know, because that is just locked up under layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy and dark money. And again, they keep on having all of these conferences, these revealing conferences about UFOs. They did one in July of 23. They won November of 2024. What have we learned? Absolutely nothing. What are they telling us? Absolutely nothing. Why? Because we don't have the need to know. And a couple of years ago, I wrote a letter to Marco Rubio when he was on the committee, and we were having a correspondence. I was trying to get Marco's group to encourage David Grush to reveal his sources, reveal what he knows, because he said he knows where the bodies are and he knows where the sources are. So, okay, enough talk. It's been, 2 years? 2023, July? Yeah, 2 years. It's still, we don't know anything. It's just a song and dance. It's a tease.
Did that myself. I could try to get the Senate hearings so I could play them on my podcast, and they gave me a heads down no. You can't do that. And so I said, there were some certain things that you're not answering the question. And I don't put the whole blame on them because, like you say, if they don't want you to know, you're not going to know it. I don't know who they are, because they're the ones who put these people in power to investigate the aggression, on their findings, right?
Yeah.
But they're not. But they can't. Like I think one point that he said, if I was to tell you that, I would probably be eliminated or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I want to say this clearly. I believe there's clandestine organizations within the government that are not accountable. They're sort of, I don't know if rogue is the right term, but they're autonomous as well as anomalous. But they're autonomous in that they have the power and the leeway to do what they're doing. So they're the ones who are involved with, Area 51 and Roswell and all this other stuff, whatever that accounts to. So they know this, but they're not sharing with us. I was at a conference 2 years ago. The guy next to me, I was one of the presenters, and the guy next to me was from San Francisco, worked for the government in remote viewing. And man, did I want to pick his brain and find out what he knew. And he wouldn't tell me anything. He says he couldn't. But my theory is this, that here's Mr. Remote Viewing guy, and there's people that work in time travel, in astral projection, and mind control, and you name it. And, some of the people thought that all of this stuff was in Long Island at, what's the place there? The Montauk. And and that's just symbolic of what's happening. I believe that these organizations are all over the United States and all over the world, and we will never find out about them. They're not accountable to the president, and so the president has this plausible denial. So when these guys are doing their thing, whatever it is, he can honestly say that I don't know what that is. I never heard of it. Because he doesn't. So he has no need to know that. I mean, you just allow those people to do what they're doing and hope that it's going to, be something for on the positive side. I don't know.
I want to jump forward to, you had mentioned a little bit ago, Annabelle. So I want to jump on the tour that they put this doll on, the Devils on the Run tour.
Yeah, well, very foolish indeed.
So I want to get to that. I want to get to Annabelle. Do you think that she is haunted?
Well, that's a good question. In my book, I have a chapter called The Death of Dan Rivera, and I've been criticized by the New England Society for Psychic Research that I am celebrating the death of Dan Rivera, and I'm profiting from his death. that could not be further from the truth. With all of us authors, we're paying the VIG, we're paying the money back to our publisher. So don't look at me and say that I got a fistful of money, because I don't. If you want to talk about money, let's talk about July 11th, 12th, and 13th in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where the Devils on the Run tour charged $40 a person to see Annabelle. Myself and my wife were two of them. We paid over $80 to see Annabelle. The Gettysburg paper counted 1,260 people that anteed up the $40. We're talking something like $50,000 there, not counting San Antonio, New Orleans, and West Virginia. So we're talking about maybe $200,000, give or take. So that New England society was all about making the money, and they are still making the money. When I was there on July the 11th, I met Dan Rivera, the chief handler. Dan passed away 2 days later.
Dan Rivera, was he the owner of Annabelle?
No,
you say he was a chief handler.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was, Tony Spira is the owner now, because Ed and Lorraine have died. Lorraine wanted Annabelle to stay in Monroe, Connecticut at the Occult Museum. Tony Spira and his group decided to take it on the road because it would be profitable. And they're still doing this. When Dan Rivera died on the July the 13th, they had an autopsy, and they said that it was natural causes, that he had cardiac issues. I spoke with the Psychic Vincent sisters, who said no. They believed that it was the demonic energies from Annabelle that wore him down and eventually killed him. Chris McKenna, the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, he's all over the internet, all over YouTube, talking about how this is dangerous and foolish to bring Annabelle out. And right now, the latest thing that happened was that the comic, Matt Riff, is now the owner, or the leaser, I should say. I believe he's leased the belongings, all the artifacts from the Warren Occult Museum. He's leased them for, I think, 5 years. So he has that in Monroe, Connecticut. My book takes a look at all the possibilities. We're talking demonic energies. We're talking the supernatural. We're talking the main artifact that Ed and Lorraine had. When I saw Annabelle, it was in this 5-foot wooden enclosure that was infused with holy water and holy oil. The Lord's Prayer was attached to the back. There was a glass window there. What else? Father Bob, the priest, was supposed to be there at all times. However, on Friday, July the 11th, when I was there was no Father Bob in sight. They said that he was out of country. So, don't tell me that everything was taken care of and everything was, in order, because it wasn't. So anyway, he died. People are saying natural coincidence, natural causes. Some people are saying it's a coincidence. But those of us in the know, those of us who research and write about the paranormal, know that there's no such thing. Call it what you will. Don't call it coincidence. It was something else, whatever that is. Heart attack, okay, I could look at that. But demonic infestation, why not? He was being worn down. He handled this doll, all up and down the southeastern United States. So too bad. I was supposed to interview him on Monday the 14th. I get a call from a friend of mine and said, "Did you hear about that Gettysburg researcher who died?" And I said, "No." And I thought it was somebody else. And when I Googled it, here it was Dan Rivera. I thought, wow, come on. I couldn't, I'm in shock. I'm in shock. But I called some people close to me, and in confidence, I said, "Listen, what do I do? I was there when he died. I want to write a chapter, called The Death of Dan Rivera." And we went back and forth on this. Is this being crass? Is this exploiting his death? How is it? But I did it evenly. I did it as in a well-balanced chapter, looking at all sides. So it wasn't, I didn't try to sensationalize it, but I, talked about it, I think, the way I needed to. And I'm pleased with the way that chapter and the whole book turned out. I'm proud of the Smurl haunting.
Yeah, there was quite a few people I've talked to that have got to see Annabelle on this tour. Like I said, when I was in Kentucky a couple weeks ago, on my drive home, I was had another guest on my show, and she's, I'm not too far from you if you want to stop by my haunted museum. They run a haunted auction house.
Oh yeah, okay.
They are the Kentucky ghost hunters, and they were just there in Kentucky, and they got this see Annabelle and had pictures taken with her.
Yeah,
I think it was the same thing, like you said, like $40 a person.
yeah. It was sort of like a carnival atmosphere. When I got there, I got head of the line privileges. I was introduced to Dan Rivera. I hung out with him. We talked a lot. I told him I was writing this book, and we talked about the Smurls, and we talked about the Warrens, and it was great. And again, but he very much talked about his faith, being a Christian, the things like the power of the devil is great, but the power of God is greater. Things like that. So everything they did, like the Warrens, came from a Christian perspective. So I think that's important to know. And Dan Rivera was a former Army guy. He was a veteran, a family person. Good people that knew him liked him, and he was very kind to me.
On this show, from the people I've talked to that knew Ed and Lorraine, you either liked them or you didn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you were the big follower, and you believed that what they were doing was right. Or
well, and as far as making money, when you take a look at all in my book, I list the books like Graveyard and The Haunted and all the books that they wrote. And if you look at the books at the top, they'll have it by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Well, they weren't the writers. They had ghost writers and co-writers. So they just put the Warrens' name at the top because that sold. That was, people knew the Warrens. They didn't know these ghost writers. So that's why they did it. But everybody does that. I mean, this is United States of America. This is capitalism. It's like, we all try to reach that level. Very few of us do. The Warrens reached that level, pissed off a whole lot of people. There's a lot of jealousy and animosity. Mm-hmm. So and they were castigated by a lot of people. I think maybe rightfully, because maybe they stretched some of the stuff and exaggerated. But then again, a lot of people were just jealous that they were able to go and get that gold ring, before anybody else did. So
I want to jump forward a little bit. The Smurl hauntings. You talk about Pope John Paul II and his exorcism college. What is that? Yeah, that's in your book?
Yeah, that's in my book. Yeah, I talk about the apostles of exorcism, and I talk about Jesus, and I talk about Amorth. But with Pope John Paul II, he was an exorcist. And he was canonized along with Pope John the 23rd in 2014 by Pope Francis. But Pope John Paul II he organized a college of exorcism. He had priests, something like 132 priests from 30 different countries to go there to learn this medieval rite, that's R-I-T-E, rite of exorcism. Also, Pope John Paul II updated this 400-year-old document so that it was here for the modern times, and which was interesting. I mean, it worked. Consider this, if you will. 2014, the dual canonization. Pope John Paul II, who was canonized in 2014, updated the rite of exorcism. Pope John Paul the 23rd, who was there also canonized in 2014, was the one who gave us Vatican II. And Vatican II updated the church. It was our Kumbaya moment, and a lot of people hated Pope John the 23rd. They thought he was a villain. They thought he was the closest thing to the devil. And a lot of people, these rogue priests, refused to sign on with Vatican II. They stayed with the old school, the old traditions of saying Mass in Latin and all this. One of these people was Bishop Robert McKenna, who performed three failed exorcisms at the Smurl haunting, Father McKenna. It was Father Treebolt who did 4 of them, and he got it right. He was able to cleanse the house.
I grew up a Methodist, and converted to Catholic.
Yeah.
But I know growing up as a child, early 60s, and if you even talked about ghosts or demons, you're going to burn in hell. You're going straight to hell.
Yeah, right.
So you weren't even allowed to mention that, right? And so when I converted to, because you have to be a Catholic to be married in a Catholic church, and
yeah, I know.
So that was all new to me, and so I had a lot of questions, and purgatory.
Yeah.
because I never heard of purgatory until I became a Catholic. So that time, that your God, I guess, reflects on your life, and if you're going to go to heaven or hell. There's so many questions, and I had brought up to James Long about with the Ouija board. If you don't close out a session, you're going to have trouble. Haunted items like Annabelle, Robert the doll, because I think you had mentioned earlier about carrying something with you to the next location.
Yeah, I think that those demonic forces can travel. I think that's what they do, and infest people, places, and things. But we believe that people can become infested with demonic energies through a curse that's been placed on them. Again, with the Smurls, I believe that they were targeted and by demonic forces. Things like if the kids, if somebody's messing around with Ouija boards, tarot cards, seances, that could open up the portals to demonic energies. And I want to clarify this because I know people that use Ouija boards to contact certain spirits, asking for advice, asking for help, asking for knowledge. And I don't know a whole lot about that, and I don't know how to do that. But I think most of us don't. And I think for those of us who are just playing around with Ouija boards, hoping that something will manifest and pop up. I mean, be careful of what you wish for, because it could be a spirit, or it could be a demon, looking to score some points and looking to tempt and infest and possess. So when I was in Butler, Pennsylvania early this year, the Psychic Vincent sisters were doing a presentation, and there was a young man sitting in the front. He was a ghost hunter, not with an organization, but with himself. And he showed on his phone, he had these pictures of, he was attacked by what he thought was a demon. His chest had been ripped open. His eyeball was just hanging there. It was pretty gruesome. And they claimed that there was some sort of a demonic attachment. This young guy was going into these vacated prisons and vacated mental institutions looking for something. And you do this on a regular basis. Eventually, you're going to roll snake eyes, and you're going to meet up with something, either a confused ghost or spirit, or a demon looking to possess. So, that's the way it works. This is what a lot of us believe. And if you don't believe it, fine. And the other thing too, Al, talking about religion, my thing about this, demonology and the rite of exorcism is all about religion, specifically Catholicism, because the Protestants don't do the exorcisms like we do, only because they stopped doing that in the 1600s. I'm not sure why, but I need to find that out. But I'm not trying to convert anybody over to anything. I believe that evil exists. I believe that the devil exists. But whatever you want to do, that's your belief. I'm not trying to convert anybody over. And I don't believe I score any points by evangelizing and get anybody to sign in the book and convert over to what I believe. I don't do that. I won't do that. And I resent people that try to do that. And so for your listeners, you have the right to worship anybody or anything that you want to, without Maxim Furek interfering with any of that. So that's and the other thing too is it's sacred, it's intimate. Your relationship with your Lord, your higher power, is yours, your business. Nobody needs to know that. That's your gig, and it's a special, unique relationship. Nobody has that kind of relationship at all. Just you and your Lord, or your Allah.
Getting back to Ed and Lorraine Warren, how do you think they would view the rest of the world today? How are they viewed by the rest of the world?
Yeah, well, let's answer both of those. I think that they're viewed as pioneers and ambassadors. They were there. They outlined and defined what this demonology is. So they certainly did that. Regardless of the controversy. But I think that they would view the world themselves as being even more satanic and demonic. And look at Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne was the one who, brought in heavy metal and brought in this demonology and, all this stuff. And just recently, before he died, they had the concert. They reunited, and they made more money with that one concert, that benefit concert, than did Farm Aid and Fire Aid. Ozzy Osbourne is still relevant. People like him. He was able to go and introduce the realm of demonology in another way. and open up the door. So I wonder what Ed Warren would say about that. So, I mean, we're sort of being indoctrinated into this, and it's out there. But my only recommendation for your listeners would be twofold. One, buy my book, the Smurl Haunting, because the information's there. And also be careful of what you do and where you go. Know what you're doing. Don't be foolish. Don't be naive. There's a way to go ghost hunting that's proper and safe, and and could keep you out of danger. So just figure that out. Talk to people, and then do it that way. So we want to keep everybody around for the next Ghost in the Valley podcast.
All right, that's for sure. Where can my listeners go, and your listeners go, and everybody listen to this? Go to get your books.
Check out my website. It's www.maximfurek.com, MAXIMFUREK. There's my bio, my books. There's a way for you to go and contact me and get a autographed copy of the book that you won't be able to get from Amazon or Jeff Bezos, but you could get it from me. One last thing, please support local libraries, bookstores, authors, and podcasters. We have enough problems with corporate America. Support local, and give them your business.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Al, thanks so much, and let's do it again. And thank you so much, and let's hope that you get a couple more reviews for your books.
The Christmas holiday is coming up very, very fast. If you're looking to get that certain someone a Christmas present, go to Amazon and pick up one of Maxim's books. Here's a list to choose from. His latest, The Smurl Haunting, When Ed and Lorraine Came to Town, Cole Region Hoodoo, Paranormal Tales from Inside the Pit, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. I'm going to leave the links at the bottom of this episode. There's a few more to pick from Maxim Furek. Thank you again, Maxim. I appreciate the time, and I know we'll talk again. I'm your host, Al Cooley from Ghost in the Valley podcast. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your time.